Look, governments have been telling us the same thing for years. The economy is growing and everything is for your prosperity. But when you look at history a little more carefully, you start to realize something. Things are not as innocent as they are presented, because governments and powerful elites have been playing the same game for centuries under different names. The only things that change are the methods and the words they use, but the result is always the same. The rich get richer, while ordinary people carry the burden of the system. Let's look at the simplest example. Yes, its name is inflation. Today, you go to the market and pay twice as much for the same thing you bought last year. They tell you it's because of a global crisis, market conditions, or war. But the truth is this: governments often make the public quietly pay the price for the money they overspend. And this is not something new or happening for the first time. Even ancient Rome did the same thing. Back then, when war expenses increased, they started reducing the amount of silver inside the coins. From the outside, the money looked exactly the same, but in reality, its value had dropped. People became poorer without even realizing it. What's happening today is not very different. Only the method has changed and modernized. In the Middle Ages, kings used to force merchants to lend them money. They called it a duty to the nation, but in reality, people were being pressured into it. Today, the same logic continues in different forms, through taxes, debts, and constantly growing economic burdens. Think about the 2008 financial crisis. Big banks took extreme risks and nearly collapsed the entire system. Then what happened? Governments bailed them out. And who paid for it? Of course, once again, the people. So when there are losses, society pays the price. When there are profits, big corporations take the reward. Even the retirement system in many places is hanging by a thread now. People work for years and pay premiums, but nobody even knows whether the same conditions will exist in the future, because the system constantly needs new money to survive. And the strongest part of all this is this: everything is explained with very fancy words. Inflation is called an economic transition, debt is called an investment, and cuts are called reforms. And because of that, people fail to see what is really happening. Actually, the issue is not only about the economy. The real issue is that people either do not question the system or are unable to question it. Because when you look at history, you realize this: the methods change, but the system itself barely changes. What happened in Rome is being experienced today, under different names and modern versions. That's why economic history matters. Understanding how money works matters, because if you do not understand the system, you will simply brush everything off by saying, life is just expensive. But most of the time, the reality is much bigger than that.